Today is January 29th, 2015. And I didn't include any kind of a break or pause time from this video and the last one that I just made. So this is pretty off the cuff and impromptu. I don't have a speech prepared. I'm just filling in a little information before I continue with what I was talking about in my video series, explaining the kinds of government rape that the United States commits against kids, committed against me. So what I was last talking about was that I had a daughter, and I kept it quiet because for safety reasons, for her own protection. And she was born, she has pretty much the same statistics as my first daughter, but there are some discrepancies that I noticed as to what her measurements actually are. Because I was there watching and saw the measuring tape, and I can contest the fact that of certain dimensions that she was given. What they weighed her at was 7 pounds and 14 ounces. She was definitely healthy, and then her length and measurement in inches was 19 inches. But I noticed that she was squinched up. That they didn't have her totally laying out completely flat the way I've seen babies laid out so that they could be measured. Her head was kind of pressed up against the board, and she's just kind of squinched up. So they measured her at 19 inches, but I think she's taller than that, or she was longer than that, because from what I could tell, she was longer than 19 inches. But they did some things that were trying to match the dimensions and measurements of my first baby daughter, which I think is really weird. It's a little interesting. I can get into that a little bit later as to their motives why they would do that. And then her head circumference I can definitely contest, because along with her length, because they measured her head circumference at 14 centimeters, and I saw when the nurse was doing it that it wasn't matching to 14 centimeters. And so then I saw that, and then I noted it, and then I also wanted to measure her head myself to see what I got with that same measuring tape. And basically, just to make sure that the nurse was doing the measurements in the correct position spot, they measured right around here and then away around to the back. So what she was saying was 14 centimeters was actually, or not 14 centimeters, 14 inches was actually under 14 inches. It was like 13, and if I can find a measuring tape here real quick. Just thought about maybe trying to do that. Well, I will look for it in a moment. But the measuring tape, sometimes have it, I've been doing some sewing and different things, so I sometimes have it just right over there. And it was about like 13 and something like 13 3/4 or 13 5/8. It was some sort of measurement like that. It was like a third. It was a little bit under 14 inches. And it's not that big of a deal, but I like to be exact because I do know that they were trying to match this daughter's measurements to my last daughter's measurements. And I remember what they said my last daughter's measurements were. So, or my first daughter's measurements were. So basically, her name I gave her was Sophia Queen Esther Dagar Lurie Garrett, and pretty much the same thing that I named my first daughter. And the only reason I don't like Sophia is I just don't like that F sound in there. I don't know. It's just lyrically, it's I don't like it quite as much. But as for the name and the connotation and everything, I think it's pretty. I don't have a problem with that. So, but I was just kind of pressured to come up with something, and I decided to go ahead and use a name that reflected the name of my last daughter, or of my first daughter. And so at any rate, I had a healthy pregnancy. I was active. I was running often. I was the last week or two, I got in a few runs of a couple of miles. I ran a couple of miles the day before I went into labor, and I had a vegan gestation period. I mean, the whole for her, most of my entire pregnancy I was vegan, and I balanced my diet, ate very well, and I measured, the fundus and the fundal growth and all of that. It was very safe and healthy pregnancy overall. And I have had my budget planned and everything, and was able to, I could see that it was possible for me to support her and be financially secure without any state assistance. That means no government assistance. So I was not on food stamps, didn't plan to go on food stamps, didn't plan to take any kind of government assistance of any kind, no welfare whatsoever, no money stipend, no housing from them. I wanted to, and if CPS had not taken her away from me and incurred additional expenses and charges to me at this time, there's no reason why. I'd already thought out my budget, and it was safe. So the fact that they have kidnapped her from me has created a bunch of new expenses that are taking out money from my account. I have suddenly more equipment that I have at my house breaking down. And prior to my delivering her, I had a whole bunch of things happen at my house that incurred additional expenses. I had everything breaking down on me at the same time. And this is pretty much what happened when I was pregnant with my first daughter. A whole bunch of things happened at the same time to basically eat up the money that I had and put me into a more vulnerable position financially, so that the state could make a case against me. And basically not just make a case against me, because they can still place kids with mothers that don't have a lot of resources. But basically it was just to keep me down. It was to make it impossible for me to fight for myself and my daughter, because I didn't have money to do it. And the lawyer was working with them the entire time. So, anyway, this is what has happened. My plan was to try to raise her as long as I didn't get CPS involved for some reason, and I hadn't planned to go to the hospital. I didn't see any reason why someone would try to bring any kind of an CPS action against me, because I have not been out in the community doing some kind of weird or crazy thing. I haven't been arrested. I have not done anything that would indicate to anyone that I have any kind of a mental disorder that would make it impossible for me to care, provide for or raise my daughter, or any baby. And I haven't shown any kind of weird psychotic delusions or streaks or mania. I mean, people disagree with what I have to say about the government, but and my experiences. And a lot of people, I'm sure, don't believe them. But I haven't said anything, haven't had some kind of a weird psychotic break, of any kind. And never have. And what they did is, after they took her from me, they put me on a quote-unquote psychiatric hold, and that's their excuse for how they get to take a kid away from the mom, basically. That's one of their little tools in their handbox of how we traffic children and get them separated from their parent to start with. So they took her away from me on that basis so they could have better access to her, and put me on a psychiatric hold to be evaluated by a psychiatrist. They made me stay there for several days, It was a week. And partly it was a week because they did it over the weekend, which was nice for them because it meant that I got to stay there 2 extra days that were not business days, and they didn't have to do anything about it because they don't count weekend days. So I could have been out of there earlier, but because of the weekend factoring into it, I had to stay there longer. And I was released. Nobody thought that I had any kind of presented a danger to the community, to myself, or could possibly be a risk to any of the above. And of course I'm not. I never have been. And any time that the United States government has tried to put me into that kind of a place, which they've done more than once, it's always followed my reporting crimes committed by the U.S. government, and it has always eventually resulted in people agreeing that there's nothing wrong with me. And it's kind of funny how if the United States thinks that they're getting something out of you, like they're going to get away scot-free with your baby girl, all of a sudden they drop their "you're mentally ill" accusations and we need to send you back to the hospital so you can be electroshock treated. You know, so as long as I was willing to not fight them, even if I wouldn't sign their document, as long as I didn't fight them when they were taking my baby from me, they were suddenly happy to, their trade and deal for me was that, well, we'll let you go. You don't have to be electrocuted anymore, Cameo. And you're free. Because that's what the U.S. is all about. It's about freedom. The U.S. spends trillions of dollars in military funding for freedom. Land of the free and the brave. There are a lot of brave people, but there are not very many here that are free. But the government thinks that they can steal kids and people's lives and select individuals, whoever they want. They think they can do that for free, and that they don't have to pay for that or be accountable for what they've done. So, any kind of great ideals someone has about moving to the United States or living in the United States and getting ahead, that's great for you. If you think that for some reason the U.S. doesn't want to take something away from you that you're not going to voluntarily give them, if you're going to play their game and give away things that are valuable, or you think that you want to give things away to them that are valuable, or you want to work with their corrupt system, this might be the place for you. And if you actually choose to be a free person and just try to live, this is not the place for you. And I'm sorry to say it. But there's nothing free about the United States. And maybe it was free at one time. I'm sure it was. I'm sure it was nice to be free from religious oppression and from royal oppression from England. And try to strike it rich on your own, not have to pay the landlord. Well, that's not how it is anymore. And it hasn't been like that, a place for free enterprise of any kind for a very long time. So, anyway, that's what I'm going to say about the situation right now. I have to go to a lot of court things. They're already trying to, they have no plan to reunify me with my daughter. It's already obvious. But I'm going to continue with these video clips I've been making about government-sponsored rape and torture.